Welcome to the Business of Allied Health, supported by CliniScribe. So I meet many practice owners every day, all, of all walks of life. And one quite special one is Fiona White. So I heard about her many years ago when she won the 2019 Telstra Victorian Small Business Award. She actually won it, I think. She's also a
Yeah,
physio. She's a founder and director of Own Body. Yeah, welcome.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about your story and how you ended up with Own Body.
Yeah. Well, I started, like most people, had a few different jobs actually. I sort of was a bit from BYO, build your own graduate program. I worked in hospitals, I worked in private practice. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. After a few years, I decided to move into rehab. I always loved as a student working with exercise as a form of rehabilitation, as a form of medicine, and thought I'd really found myself in a rehab hospital. Through that, I love that work. I loved working with people. I love seeing them all the way through their rehab journeys. However, I started to realize that there was this real gap in home-based rehab. I found it really difficult to refer to home-based practices, mobile practices. The process wasn't simple, the fees weren't simple, the funding models were really confusing. And so the just physically trying to get someone to go and see my clients at home when they'd finished their inpatient stay, or when they couldn't necessarily come back to the hospital or get to a clinic, I found really tricky. So I thought maybe that's something I can do, and really just started from there.
Right. And
I did
how,
a little bit after work, and after not long,
yeah.
I really saw that there was a huge need. That
Yep.
actually
So,
started off as a bit of a
yeah.
Pilates practice, and I was a personal trainer as well, so
Oh,
it was
wow.
a little bit of rehab, a little bit of Pilates, a little bit of personal training by a physio, and just built up actually quite quickly from there to the point where I had to resign from my job and dive in.
Nice. And yeah, that's really compelling. That entrepreneurial hustle early on. It wasn't full time. You didn't invest heaps of capital into it.
Yeah.
How did you know when it was ready for you to go full time? On what were the signs of that?
Yeah, look, I must admit I've been pretty nervous to take the plunge from the get-go. I'm very conservative in my approach to business. I was not ready to go full time. However, I knew that I wanted to do a little bit more, and I requested to go part-time. So, the old requesting flexibility, and unfortunately that request was denied. So the next day I made the decision to resign, and thankfully I was offered some casual work there, and there were plenty of jobs around, so I managed to fill my weeks with enough work to keep myself afloat and keep paying the rent, keep paying the bills, and really just built it up from there to the point where I actually finally resigned from all of my other weekday jobs.
Nice. I love that. I love how physio in particular has that flexibility where
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur, it's a great kind of environment for you to
yeah,
grow from that and
yeah.
take risks.
There's
Yep.
always someone willing to hire you if you're a good
Yeah.
clinician.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
absolutely.
person.
Yeah. And how big have you grown now since when you started from zero, I'm presuming?
Yeah, it always feels a bit funny answering this question because I can't quite believe it. We have around 90 clinicians in our team,
Wow.
all up and down the East Coast. So I'm in Melbourne, so we're strongest and biggest in Melbourne. We have Melbourne, Greater Melbourne, Ballerine Peninsula, Ballarat, Mornington Peninsula, and we're still expanding. So we're looking at some regional areas at the moment. Just need to find the right clinicians for those areas. We're in Sydney and we're in Southeast Queensland. So we have not only physios, but we have occupational therapists and podiatrists across the different states as well.
Excellent. And
Obviously, an admin team and management team to
nice.
uh, to support them.
And what were some of your biggest early challenges building this up to this stage? Or has it been challenging consistently the whole way?
So I could write a book on some of the challenges. The early, if you're talking early challenges, look, honestly, I didn't come from an entrepreneurial background. My parents weren't business owners. I didn't really know many business owners. So I really started from the ground up. It was at the point of literally Googling how to get an ABN and is mobile physiotherapy legal? Can I do this? Is it possible to do this? I knew absolutely nothing. So for me, it was learning from the ground up, absolutely everything and anything.
Did you have a mentor or did you do any courses or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
heaps. Yeah. No, so I have found different mentors along the way that suited I guess the level that I was at and the size, what my challenges were, and trying to find the right fit was always the challenge as well. Some of them were informal mentors. I've got some of my greatest learnings from just having a chat to different people. I was invited to be part of the Australian Physiotherapy Association business group in my reasonably early days. So being around people like that, that's a volunteer position, but I can tell you I've got a lot out of that over the years as well. Just the people that you meet and, experience shares that people have down the line. Over the years, I've had mentors for very specific things. Sometimes mentors can be found in even your accountant, and they can be found in friends, they can be found in people of different businesses. One of the best decisions I made early on was to join something called Entrepreneurial Organisation, EO, and that was an accelerator program that helped me scale from, sort of a lower level to $1 million a year in revenue.
That's the
And then
criteria, isn't it? For you to
that's the
be, yep.
criteria for
Yep.
the accelerator program. And then the idea is to continue after that as an actual member, not in the accelerator program. So one of the biggest things I learned from that is that you sort of get to a point where when you're only looking internal when it comes to physio businesses. I mean, that might be fine if you're running a fairly stock standard practice and you're not necessarily reinventing the wheel. You're just trying to, grow your practice and and do a great job with that. For me, I was running something quite unique and I couldn't really find a business mentor, a physio business mentor, an allied health business mentor who'd done what I had done because it was really quite a new space. So moving into a different program such as Entrepreneurs Organisation was great for me because you realize that a lot of business challenges are actually not unique to your industry and most of them can be found across every single business and every single business owner that you speak with.
Fantastic. Can I ask you this potentially sensitive question? You don't have to answer it. Did you, from that accelerator program, how much did you grow in magnitude or something like that from where you started there?
Yeah, oh well, definitely, passed the accelerator program,
Yes.
and continued to grow from there. And one of the things that I think that I'm most proud of is, and something I really learned from there was how to set up my business to not only run without me. I used to say it would go without me, but it wouldn't grow without me. And it taught me the skills to actually set my team up and the company up to grow without me as well. So one of the things I'm most proud of, I've got two beautiful young kids who are now 3 and 5, and I managed to take 2 lots of maternity leave, and my business grew in my absence. So I took a proper
Wow.
maternity leave. Sometimes I would still get a call because I'd forgotten to give someone a code or something like that. But there weren't really too many major drama, and we did. And one of them was through COVID. If you count back five years ago, and one
Yeah.
of them I actually took maternity leave during COVID. So I had an incredible team who I empowered and trusted to grow the business without me as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what were the key things there you think that you didn't know before and after through that accelerator program that gave you the tools or fundamentals to take to this level?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was fundamentals actually, even things from really analyzing your P&L to key things that you need to think about with your people, where your strategy's going, how to actually make that happen, what are your core values and getting really clear on what you're doing and what you're really good at. I think something I learnt clearly through that program was focusing on what we're good at and not getting distracted by the shiny objects. I'm a massive shiny objects person and I like to go after the next great idea. But with practice and discipline, I've gotten a lot better at just really focusing on our key things. So for us, that could be something like, we're often often people say, well, why don't you open a practice as well that could complement what you're doing? And whilst I'm, fairly confident if I did open a practice, we'd be able to manage it fairly well with all the business skills that I've developed over the years, it's a real deterrent from our key mission and what we're trying to achieve. So all of the energy and effort that goes into the next shiny object and chasing that next shiny object actually detracts from what we're really trying to do. So
Mm.
keeping focused on what our core, yeah, our core values are and what our core purpose is.
Love that. Love that insight. It's
Yeah.
sort of like playing your own rule book, your game,
Yeah.
your own game. Don't fall into someone else's game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And some of the other things are
Yeah.
really just understanding your numbers. I've I love numbers. I'm a massive maths nerd, and I really believe that numbers can tell you pretty much anything. That there is a number to tell you what is going on in your business over pretty much every different area. It's just a way of finding that proper metric.
What is that metric for you?
Well,
Anything?
we have lots, unsurprisingly, death by spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And some of the things that it was actually, that was where I learned NPS and the Net Promoter Score. And
Yep.
for us, that's really important. So important, in fact, that we actually do it manually, and we do it with one of our very senior clinicians does the NPS process, the feedback process, and tries to call at least 2 clients for every clinician every month. So obviously we get our number out of that, and I'm really proud to say that our NPS is over 95% every single month. We've been doing
Wow.
that for probably 7 or 8 years now. But it also gives us the opportunity to ask for qualitative feedback as well. So if it's a 10, that's great. We say, yeah, it's wonderful. Is there anything I can pass on to the team or the clinician about your experience? And we use that opportunity to then feed that back to the clinician. So it's great for them to hear. It's great for the team to hear. If it's anything less than a 10, we have a different script for what we
Yeah.
might respond to. So if it's, it's a great opportunity for us to learn what's not quite right and get on top of anything that's not going according to plan as well. We find that if we just send them out by email or SMS, we don't get any responses, and we probably don't get as honest responses as we would if we actually make the phone call. So for me, focusing on that's been really important. And that's because one of the key reasons for our success is finding and hiring and keeping the right people. So the people that really fit our core values and how we like to operate, and getting that right in the first place is really what makes everything else easy.
Fantastic. On the note of like sort of signal versus noise and focusing, you obviously entered an award. Was there benefits to that, or did you kind of just get nominated randomly, or
Yeah,
should,
yeah.
should should all small business owners and entrepreneurs enter awards and pitch
Oh,
competitions?
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Okay.
work. And we had a quick chat earlier about, have there been any others since then? And I can honestly say with 2 young kids and working
Yep.
part-time trying to run this business, I haven't had time, because it took at least weeks out of
Right. Yep.
my time to get that right. It was a really incredibly valuable process. I did it actually the year before, and I don't think I even got a Guernsey. I sort of submitted it going, yes, this is great. This is a great application. We're going to do really well, and basically didn't even hear back. And then the next year I actually won it. But what that meant for me was that I engaged mentors to help me with my preparation, to say, what should I be saying here? What do you think? How could I shape this? And really thought hard about not just how to answer the question between 2018 2019, but how to change what we were doing to be at that next level, to really level up. So by putting not just putting the effort into the answers, but actually changing what we were doing structurally to get to that next level as well. Did that answer
Interesting.
the question?
Yeah,
Can't remember what
that's
you asked.
really good insights.
Yeah,
It's just a real consideration that it can take you
yeah.
away from your focus, as you said earlier.
Yeah. And obviously it's a
Mm.
huge boost of confidence to get to that level and to
Yeah.
be acknowledged in those awards. But I think the real value was actually going through the process, answering the questions, and really thinking deeply about what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're
Yeah.
trying to achieve, what your purpose is, and really thinking on that. That's not just related to awards, but even things like going through, we're NDIS registered,
Yeah.
we've got various other accreditations, but going through those processes shouldn't just be considered a tick box exercise. It's actually really important to go through and consider other perspectives for how you might improve your business.
Excellent. Excellent. So one last question. What's the lesson that you've learned running, I'm going to say a practice now, but a group, an allied health group
Yeah.
that you haven't seen like on social media? That's the truth that may be a bit uncomfortable, for people to post about, that you should share and let people know as a successful, established entrepreneur that works part-time with kids, as a mum. You know what I'm saying?
That's
A
a
whole
big
lot.
question, Barry. I don't know. I might break it down into a few
Okay.
different parts.
Yep. And we can finish it up after that with a lasting comment.
Yeah. Gosh, the whole idea of running a business with kids is, That's a whole podcast series, not just a question or a podcast.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
lessons I've learned from that, but mostly around what's important and where to focus my time. I don't think I have anything revelatory to say about what's the one thing I've learned about running an allied health practice that's going to blow anyone's mind. But it's really uncomfortable. It's hard. It takes a lot of grit. It's a very much for me. It's a long-term game. It's not, I think people sort of see, and I certainly did when I was a private practitioner. I sort of saw what we were charging and saw what I was making and thought, gosh, these guys must be just rolling in dough.
It's very common.
You stick it on the other end and you're
Yeah, I
like,
know.
okay,
There's nothing. Yeah.
there's been many years where I've been at 0% profit or, negative, and for many years, the maximum was about 5% profit. So it's a really, really tough gig and it's a long game. But the most important thing for me has been trust and finding the right people. That is honestly the key to my success. And I feel very fortunate that so many wonderful, experienced career clinicians trust me as their employer. I think our average level of experience is about 16 years. We
Wow.
don't take new grads. We take people who have at least 2 years experience in the team, but most of them on average it's 16 years of clinical experience who are in our team. So we attract people who absolutely just they love what they do. They love connecting with people. They love doing the work of being a clinician. And I keep sort of saying physio because obviously that was where
Yeah.
this is, but
Yeah.
physios, OTs,
Yeah.
podiatrists, they
Yes.
love connecting with people and making a difference. And I see my job and the management team's job is to get out of their way. So we obviously need to have scaffolding and safety and procedures and policies and all of the things that we absolutely need. But once those things are there to scaffold them and to scaffold their practice so that they can just go in and do the work that they enjoy doing and we can get out of the way. And it means that we can give them, a huge amount of flexibility. And it means that we have a huge number of people who are, at or approaching long service leave because they realize that this is that balance of, trust. They obviously need to be accountable, but respect. And we fortunately get to work with many people for a long, long, long time. So having the
Wow.
right people is
That's
the most important thing for us.
that's a great answer. I've got
Yeah.
one question, another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Go for it.
really, really cool. So I know you said people's everything. Do you
Mm.
kind of show your personal life in business at all, or do you keep it completely separate, given that you're in, you got kind of more experienced physios who are
Yeah.
and other allied health who maybe have a bit more street wisdom about who they're working for. Like how do you go
Um,
about that, or is it completely separated?
no, no,
Find
no.
out.
It's definitely not completely separated. I'm
Yeah.
I'm very much an open book. Given the nature of our work, we're quite
Yes.
remote.
Yeah.
So there's been, people that I have not met for some of the time that they've worked with us. I'm not involved with all of the interviews anymore. But one thing I do make sure that I do, because we're not, we're all the way up and down the East Coast, as I said,
Yeah.
we don't meet in the office, we don't cross paths, but I make sure that I have a meeting with everyone at their 3-month mark. And I do a video call and I make sure that I introduce myself and get to know them a little bit as well. So we connect on that sort of level. A lot of the times I know I do. I've filmed many videos that I've shared with the team that, I've got my kids screaming in the background or,
Yeah.
I'm out in the
That's cool.
garden and, my trackies and things like that. There's no sort of pretenses about who I am. And I think that really helps connect with a lot of the people who do work with us. Most of our team would be either working mums or they've got, as I always say, the people who are most suited to this sort of work, because it can be a bit lonely in a way. You don't see, you work with your clients one-on-one, but you don't have colleagues. So the people who are attracted to this sort of work are people who have very full lives outside of work. They're not coming to work for their socialization and for making new friends and things. And, you can't be everything to everyone. There's lots of workplaces where they are really social environments, but it really is, people who have very full lives outside of work. They just want to come to work, get the job done, and then clock off. And so that does tend to attract a lot of working parents or people that have a lot of other things going on. So I think being real with that is, helps them feel connected to me and the company and just the family nature of the business.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks for that. Great answers. So what's next for you before we wrap up for body?
Well, what is next for us? We have some pretty exciting things going on with rehab in the home at the moment with different private health insurers. We are working, I've been really involved in support at home and the advocacy around that. So I'm just kind of waiting with bated breath as to whether they're going to bring in price caps from the 1st of July and what that's going to mean for the industry. So yeah, it's a little bit of status quo at the moment, but we are also growing very quickly. We're hiring all the time. We've always got lots of irons in the fire, looking at what else is next. So yeah, nothing major, but lots of different things, which is again one of the strengths of the company is having lots of diversity of the different types of referrals and streams that we see.
All right. So here we go. So Fiona White, founder of Own Body. Yeah, thanks for your time. And
Sure.
hopefully the audience will get some insights from that. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. Bye.